Boom shakalaka. Here we go. Hello and welcome into the Section 109 podcast from Studio Breezy. We got Sir Mix-a-Lot, freshly returned from the vet's office, Bobble Juan, Matthew, Toby's here somewhere. Ella will probably arrive home from work during this podcast, so apologies for all the dog barks at a certain point. Plus, I don't know if we've seen the mailman, so it may be an eventful episode, but Matthew, we're not here to talk about the events in studio. We're here to talk about Sunday night. Yeah. And I want to start first with, that was a balling crowd.
Yeah, that was fantastic. 35 and change. It was great to see. I thought the block party was good.
So I missed the block party. I was coming home from shout out Cody Harris, who I don't think listens to this, but another Chattahooligan, and I was at his bachelor party, and it was lovely. But I did not get. I mean, I got home. I think I walked in the door a few minutes after 5 here, and then shortly thereafter headed to the stadium. So I missed the whole block party. Please catch me up on what I missed.
I mean, like it was awesome. There were a bunch of Hispanic food trucks. There were some games. There were some vendors on the block itself. Like, I thought it was fantastic. I'd love to see more of that. I thought the crowd was bumping. Sometimes like the crowd like comes in pretty slowly or whatever. And it was pretty full even right at the national anthem time. It was really wild. And like tailgate happening, the Chattahooligan tailgate happening over on. Actually under some shade because there's more trees on that side of Findlay, and kind of connected to the whole thing was really cool. So I was a big fan of it. I hope to see more of that in the future. Also, you were at Cody's bachelor party. That's gonna make what, the 10th Chattahooligan marriage in a few weeks?
I don't know, but we need to write that down. We need to ask the historians. We need to ask Galen, Bill Boland, those who've been around a long time, and write them all down because I think it might be number 10, which is crazy.
Absolutely.
Also, I will say something that, on a very serious note, something I have said for a long time, and I'm not the only one, is that I want the stands to look like our community, right? I want the stands to look like Chattanooga. I want Chattanooga to be reflected. That means, I want kids, I want adults, I want, people of all different, colors and creeds. And the Hispanic presence was actually much greater as opposed to, sometimes these events happen, and not necessarily with this, but just in general, you do an event for a community and it doesn't resonate. To me, it looked like a huge increase. I saw a lot of kids. I saw a Messi jersey. A
Miami Messi jersey?
Yeah, Miami nice. Messi jersey. I loved it. It was really cool to see people I hadn't seen at games. Not that everybody I saw, but you know what I mean? Like the 109 was pretty full with a lot of people I didn't know, which is cool. It was just really good. And it was really good to look around and see like a community that I don't believe is fairly represented yet on a regular basis at CFC games. I don't think we're fully tapped into the Latino community. And it looked to me like it resonated at least somewhat because I saw a lot of people that I didn't recognize and that were of Latino descent or new people, a lot of them white, in our section. And that was just cool. It was just cool to see a lot of new people and new faces. And yeah, I loved it. And 3,500 people on a Sunday in October. Look, I hope soon we're at that 35-4 every game. That would rule. Yeah. But this was just a big positive step, and it made me really, really happy. I will stop going on and on about this. Matthew, let's talk about this game. You and I have had several conversations going back and forth. I was pretty despondent after the game, emotionally. It was just, it sucked. So let's talk. I assume I'm not the only one feeling that way. Let's talk through it. And also let's just talk about what happened in the game. And I have not rewatched. I did rewatch the goal. I did not realize Big Dick Lenny scored with his big dick. But dick of the match over here, man. That was great. It reminded me of Clint Dempsey humping the ball into the back of the net. It was just excellent. It was great that he got that goal at the end. But let's talk about it, Matthew. For those who watched the game or who were there, it finished 1-1. If you don't, it finished 1-1. So let's talk through it and start with lineups.
Yeah, so Jean-Antoine in goal. No surprise, he's played every league minute available this season. At right back, Jung Woo-So, coming back into the squad a few weeks later. And then Sebastian Capizzucci at right center back. Which meant no Anatoly Prepelica. He was not even available in the 18. I'm told it's precautionary.
I believe the words that were used with us was, if this game was important. If it had been important and we thought we were going to, spoiler alert, draw, we would have played him, but we felt good about our matchup and we wanted to save him for playoffs.
Yeah.
Not just playoffs, but it's just don't make a small injury worse.
It's precautionary, and we can talk about how that affected things or didn't later. Left center back Aiden Bowers, who has also played every available minute in the league this year. Left back Joseph Perez. Center defensive midfielder Richard Dixon. Center midfielder Alex McGrath. Center midfielder Luis Garcia Sosa. Right wing Mutai Mwape. Left wing Jesus Ibarra. Striker Marcus Nagelstad. Let's talk about the first half, and then we'll go into any sub moments.
Let's do it.
I think the story of the first half is in many ways the story of the second half. It's just dominance in terms of possession from CFC. Gold Star did not get a chance to get out and attack very often, and I think we kind of all knew that was gonna be the way this game went. If you had to predict what was going to happen, they did something interesting that Gold Star did. Number one is. And remember, they
played a really good field player in goal.
They played midweek as well.
That's a good joke, Matthew.
It was a good joke because it was almost very true from July. No, so Gold Star this season, despite their woes, especially defensive woes, which makes this game so much more interesting in terms of the result. They've been a team that wants to come out and play. They try to put the ball on the ground. They try to play. They try to build out of the back. They try to do all these things to play ball against other teams in the league. And I think their place in the table, it's oscillating between 8th and 9th, depending on results for them in Savannah, has proven that it's been incredibly difficult for them. And they've had a lot of off the field challenges this year. A stadium, a lot of road games to start the season. Because they were building a stadium. Well, turns out that didn't happen. And then it turns out the owner decided to bounce. And they've been held together by shoestrings. Players have left for a bunch of different clubs in the league already. And they're kind of just holding it down with, 16 players or so.
You're not making me feel better.
Well, I think but even through all that process this year, they've kind of maintained a commitment to just go out and play. And I think something that we see happening in games that CFC is involved in is what Rod wants to happen. He wants, Rod's entire focus principally is we're going to focus on what we do and get better at what we do and make you adapt to us.
The word you're looking for is control.
It's like we set the terms. We do all. This is what we want to do. Mm-hmm. Gold Star usually wants to have the ball and play in possession and play and build out of the back and do stuff like that. In this game, from the get-go, there was no us controlling, imposing our will, and forcing Gold Star to change. Gold Star, as a strategy for this game, just decided it wasn't worth it. They never went short from a goal kick. They never went short. That is the most un-Gold Star-like approach. And now you can argue, probably a pretty smart one. Number one, because it worked. Number two, they just decided they did not want CFC to press them because they felt they were vulnerable. Spoiler alert, they are vulnerable in the press. And they were just going to kind of pick their moments, go long, try to win something 1v1 by attacking. Usually it was attacking Jungwoo So's side of the field. And he's not incredibly tall or anything like that. So they had a little bit of a taller winger on that side. And they would try to win the first ball and play out from there and try to get something. And in the first half, they got 2 shots or something like that. It wasn't a lot.
They had one dangerous sequence of play in which they got 2 shots on the same play. Joseph Perez had 1 or 2 blocks on the same play.
Yeah,
that was their big dangerous moment, and it was very dangerous. The second shot that Joseph blocked, shout out JP, was a very dangerous chance, basically from the same place that Beto got his shot that we'll talk about in the second half. And he's got when you take a shot from the top of the box, right inside the 18 or right outside the 18, you have the entire goal to shoot at. It's really tough to cut that angle for the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And so you just had the highest probability based on distance and players in between of getting a shot on goal without the goalkeeper being able to get to it. So it was a very dangerous chance. We covered that, something we've talked about ad nauseum on this podcast. We have better individual not just goalkeepers, better individual players defensively, individual defenders than we have had maybe any other year in CFC's existence as a pro or an amateur team.
Yeah.
And the individual players make really good individual plays defensively sometimes, and JP just shut that thing down by himself.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he actually gets the first block, because I haven't rewatched it. Maybe somebody else gets the first block, but it's very good. And that was basically the extent of Gold Star's danger, except for their goal, which is an error on our end.
Yeah, I think they had maybe another shot or two total in the first half, but it was like super deep, super not close, like just kind of typical stuff.
The same kind of same kind of chances we've been allowing all year, which is almost nothing.
On our end, I remember the 2 free kicks that Marcus had opportunities on. One was started out incredibly high. I thought he was going to completely sky it, and that thing dipped down real fast, hitting the football goalpost. Another one, I think he hit into the wall. There was another chance he had where kind of a slide rule ball was played for him, and he just tries to take it first time and beat the keeper near post, and he gets it into side netting or just wide a little bit.
He also had the turning shot in the second half where the ball was bouncing away from him and he spun.
This is first half.
Oh, okay.
This is first half. Other than that, there wasn't a ton else. And certainly no like really big chances where you look back and you're like, damn, I really thought that might go in.
So look, man, we can talk about dominance and control, but we had essentially no big dangerous shots. The keeper didn't have in that first half any real saves.
Correct. Like, the keeper made no saves in the first half.
If you're, I'll quote our former coach, Peter Fuller, which is possession without penetration is just masturbation. And we didn't create shots. We didn't create dangerous chances because that resulted in shots, and that doesn't feel good.
To not too untopically go off on a tangent here, but it was the equivalent of grabbing the hog in a live theater, but not getting off.
That's a reference I don't get. But I'm sure there's some nerds out there that get that reference.
You don't watch the news.
Yes, that's true.
So now, and I want to talk about the first half in that sort of way, because I think we need to talk about a really interesting change that occurred at halftime.
Yes,
let's talk all about that. It was a personal change. Beto Alvarenga comes in at halftime for Jung-Woo So. And number one, Jung-Woo was on a yellow card. I think there was his yellow card comes from essentially a free kick opportunity, or that caused a free kick. Kind of close.
He slid right over top of the ball.
It's fine. It was a yellow card.
It was clearly a yellow. In fact, he got the ball, so I'd call it clean. But
but what ends up happening is they decide to change up the approach a little bit. In terms of personnel, Richard Dixon slides out to right back, which is interesting because it's the first time Richard's played anything other than the 6 for Rod in these last 2 years.
I watched him play center back at Greenville, which you didn't go to.
We're not counting a preseason friendly in freaking 2022.
He has played. I think he's played center back one other time when we were chasing late. Where they subbed out a center back and he just like pushed into that same center back, kind of like he did at the end of this game. But correct, I don't think we have definitely never made a halftime substitution to push him out to right back at any point.
In doing so, Beto Alvarenga went to become one of the 10s, and Alex McGrath slid back to become kind of the main pivot option. So
another thing that happened here is that whole first half, which we already mentioned, they targeted Jung-Woo So. They picked him out as the weak point. As what they thought was the weak point. They put their best player in Roddy, former CFC player, who celebrated way too hard in that goal. Go fuck yourself. And they really, really pressured that position. And so when you take a more experienced, longtime pro who's bigger physically, and just no offense to Jung-Woo So, just a much better player, and you put them out at that right back position, we also changed their only offensive outlet, rendering it essentially null. Not that it was really good, but like Roddy was danger adjacent a bit in the first half, where he beat Jung-Woo and then had no one to pass to, or they tried to double or triple 3 players coming down that side so that the center back had to come out and create mismatches. You just weren't going to get that against Richard. And if they,
and they even moved Roddy to the right side.
They moved Roddy to the other side. But I'm just pointing out, it's not only, and there's another thing that happened, obviously, is we got another attacking player up top, and the best chance of the game actually falls to him. But it changed the way we were defensively, and since they weren't coming forward at all, you really didn't need Richard to clean up in the midfield and run around, which he still did plenty of that. But you had Alex there, and Alex could just be the offensive piece, and you didn't need Richard's like defensive prowess in that position anymore, because Gold Star wasn't going to come out. They had, even before their goal, they had 8 players in their own box.
Yeah, and if they were going to come out, it was going to happen on the wings. Having your 2 highest motor players in Richard and JP, highest motor defensively players, right there to snuff out stuff, could potentially, if they did come out strong and over kind of committed to it, could have led to potential counterattack or kind of re-counter opportunities. Obviously, that didn't happen at all. Gold Star was, for the most part, stayed in that shell, and but like. The offense in the second 45, and I guess we'll go specifically up until the goal, because goals change games. In up until 45th minute to 77th minute, I mean it was locked in. Like, Gold Star was in a bunker. They were not coming out except for clearances, and even then, like, they halfway came out and they full on retreated back because there was no commitment to playing.
And a lot of times we only had 2 or 3 players back, and everyone else was completely up in the box. Richard would be way up high. JP would be way up high. Alex McGrath would sometimes be way up high as well. You had Beto and Luis for large portions of that game basically stationed equidistant from each other on the edge of their box, like on the edge of the 18. You had the wingers like midway down the 18 going towards the goal, and then you had 2 players right at the top of the box, 2 10s, and then you had Marcus in the middle, and then you had the outside backs pushed up next to them, and then you had Alex either right behind them or right in front of them. I mean, it was all out positional pressure from our end on Gold Star, who were not looking to do anything but boot it long.
And we got a little bit better in that first 15 minutes of the second half with Beto's inclusion. At 60th minute, we make a sub. Juan Luis comes in for Mattia Mwape. It was not Mataya's best night. I think he would admit to that as well. But also, like, the game required a little something different. And one thing about Juan Luis is he's just a direct player. He does not often like try to invite you in to provide pressure and then beat you. He just gets the ball at his feet and goes, and he just tries to just blow past you immediately before you have time to react. And I thought that inclusion really helped because he created 2 chances.
It basically his first foray of right after he gets subbed is cutting in his left foot, shooting, and it goes just over.
It just skims, comes down a little bit too late and hits the top of the net. There was another situation where there was some nice combo play on his side of the field. Ball ends up actually at Marcus's feet, and Marcus does really well just to kind of ball roll it out. And what it goes right to Juan, and he takes a shot with his left foot, and it goes just wide. One of those kind of moments where, maybe it sneaks in the near post, maybe it goes wide, maybe it deflects off of a Gold Star player's leg and wrong foots the keeper. Like, there's a lot of chances there, but like, it was another nice step of like a little bit more. A little bit more pressure, a little bit more danger, mostly danger adjacent, but just a little bit more. And then we get to the 70th minute. There's a bit of a couple minute break for a Gold Star player to get injured, I guess, and come off.
They were wasting time from the fucking 6th minute.
Correct. And the game restarts, and Richard's playing pretty high at this point on the right hand side, and there's a little bit of combo play, and the ball comes out to Alex, and Alex just clips the ball over the top in behind. There's just a little bit of space, and he just clips the ball over the top. Juan Luis runs on, which is another reason why I think his inclusion was interesting, because it allows a little bit of something in behind. And
Yeah, he's a little more direct.
And Juan Luis just ball bounces and he just takes it off the half volley, sends it into the box. Both Marcus and a Gold Star defender, both kind of going up for the header. Neither get there. Ball bounces in the box and it comes right to Beto's left foot, and he just takes a swing at it, and he hits it purely, but it's just right at the goalkeeper. Goalkeeper saves it out for a corner. That's the best chance of the night. That's the first time that we were able to actually break down Gold Star, truly break them down and create a good opportunity. If only, it was really the only opportunity actually that happened. I guess you can argue that Jesus beating a couple of guys in the 89th minute and shooting the ball that the keeper parries directly into Lenny's dick is breaking down the defense in some way. But
you might say it was dicking down the defense.
But those were really, that was it. And all credit to Gold Star, they created a good game plan and made it incredibly difficult and put the onus on us to break them down. And we just weren't able to. 77th minute. I don't want to talk about this goal very often or very much. And I also don't want to talk about it very often. It's just an unfortunate situation where there's a lack of communication, trying to keep the pressure up, trying to keep the waves up, and center backs and goalkeeper aren't on the same page. And one of the rare chances that Gold Star had anyone take a chance and get out of the bunker a little bit, and it's just a misplaced pass. And
no, it's just Aiden plays the ball back for Jean, and Jean is not where Aiden thinks he's gonna be. So it's a bit of a no look pass, and it goes right past Jean to onrushing Roddy, who just basically dribbles it in essentially.
Right.
And it sucks.
Yeah. Not long after that,
it's just another essentially an own goal. Which, if we're being rational about things, because we're allowing next to nothing, it hurts so much more.
Right.
To beat ourselves. It also sucks because we didn't create jack shit in this game overall for dangerous chances. It may have been waves of pressure, but it was not waves of shots.
Yeah,
we haven't talked about this yet. We were not sharp with our passing. We were not sharp with our dribbling. We could not beat a guy cleanly and get a pass off. We could not make the pass when recycling that was in stride perfectly so that then the player could take a little touch and look up. Something was just a smidge off every single time. And if we are not going to be sharper, we won't win. We might not win the regular season, much less the playoffs. We have to be sharp. We're going to face similar bunkers to this the rest of the season, and Gold Star are not good. Michigan Stars are far better than Gold Star. Far better. If we play like this against Michigan Stars, we're going to go to penalties or we're going to lose. We have to be better.
Well, that was happy cheery. But also you're not really wrong.
And then this is why this feels so bad, is because we have been so dominant and we are so much better. And since we are that much better than the rest of the league, talent-wise and overall play-wise, we're pushing these teams into bunkers. And every one of Rod's teams, we've talked about this, it goes up a little bit, then it plateaus, then it goes up a little bit, then it plateaus, and that's fine. Progress is not linear, and when we know that. But we've only got 3 games essentially left, 4 if the magical Club de Leon game happens. And if we only have 4 games to get on that next trajectory up, because we're on this plateau that we've been on for a couple games, or more than a couple. And if we don't get better, it is the same thing that it's been all season. As the wingers go, we go. And if we don't get individual brilliance out of a winger, the offense is not clicking. And if the offense doesn't click and we go to penalties, it's a moot point because penalties are a crapshoot.
Right.
Is Jean excellent at penalties?
Yes.
It certainly seems that he is. But we cannot rely on that. We are good enough to beat these teams outside of that. And we've got to play better. And we can talk a little bit also about why we're not playing as well. And most of that is probably injury related as well. And we should talk about some of that. But for those of us that are feeling negative about how we're playing, it's not misplaced about feeling bad because we're not scoring. But I don't also think that the outlook is only negative. It's just we're running low on time. And something that you and I talked about after that game, so I'll get off this only negative feeling of mine. Something we talked about after this game is that trust the Rodcess is a thing that we jokingly say, but it's true. You got to trust the process. Rod is a process coach. He is not in this game, in this matchup, I put you, this is something you said earlier, I put you in this formation with these positions and these personnel because that's how we match up better to counter what they do. No. We go out in our formation, we play our game, and you're going to match up to us. Yeah. And you're going to change how you play.
And we've seen that.
And that's how Rod's been since day one. That's how Rod was last year, or 2 years ago, rather, when he wasn't CFC's coach. So we are currently obviously doing that, but we're not doing that on as high of a level, one might argue, because of injury. And we saw in this game that in the second half, Rod didn't make a sub. He did not trust the process, quote unquote, to get us to be better for 4 weeks from now, right? He went, we got to win today. And he made an attacking midfielder sub at half. Mm-hmm. He moved Richard Dixon in a position he's never played before, as you pointed out. Played for us before. For us. He's played his whole career right
played
back.
For Rod.
Right. Yeah, leave that caveat there. But he made subs that were directly and fully for let's win this game. And by the way, it did result in a goal. It did result in us changing the game.
Yeah, so we haven't talked about this.
Let's go there.
83rd minute, the substitution is Lenny Lopez. As in a kind of a customary late game chasing sub that we've made before. The interesting bit was he made the sub for Sebastian Capizzucci, and what we ended up going with a 2 striker front and 3 at the back was
more like 2 at the back.
It was 3 at the back. It was Joseph Perez, Aiden Bowers, and Richard Dixon. But then Perez and Dixon just kind of moved up. In kind of like that 6 line with Alex, and it was just 1 at the back
with the giant striker they put on. What I'm telling you is Joseph Perez got forward plenty and Richard Dixon got forward plenty. A lot of times it was just 2 in the back. So we go to 2 strikers up front. Right now we are playing the same thing I described earlier, where you have both 10s in Beto and Luis, like on the top of the 18-yard box, each out on each side a little bit. You have both wingers who are now down further towards the end line, but coming in. You have 2 strikers in the box in Lenny and Marcus. And then you have Alex pushing up into that space, and you have the fullbacks, or essentially the guys who were playing fullback now, choosing whether to go forward or not. And it is just pressure on pressure on pressure. And so that felt good because it was pressure, and it did result in a goal. But it was almost like matching a bunker with a bunker. Like, it's not a bunker, right? But it's like the opposite. It's committing every number forward. So first of all, you're extremely vulnerable going backwards.
Yeah.
Because you have essentially 1 defender playing back some of the time. And then there's no space. You're filling it with people. They're filling it with people. So you're just doing whatever you can. And it does result in a goal. So I'm not shitting on it. It's the right thing to do.
Right.
And
you have to.
Everything is what it is. The problem is it's not easily repeatable as like, this is now how we're going to break down a bunker. Is it possible that Rod says, fuck all y'all, second half, I'm just going to put 6 players in the box and try to, do that? It's possible. It's good that it worked. It's just hard to look at it as...
There's a reason why we only go to it when like we're chasing and have to absolutely change the game in some way.
Yes.
And there's a reason why we don't do it when we're say tied in the second half.
Also, from that goal, and we should talk about that goal some more, but from that goal, I am still hoarse.
So the goal is just it's just one of those plays. I think there's a clearance and ball comes to JP. I think he receives a pass first, and he just turns and he plays it out wide to Ibarra, and Ibarra makes a child fall down.
That child, we got to rewind a little bit. The best moment of this game, sorry, Lenny, sorry, everybody else. The best moment of this game is Dylan Ramos. That's his name, right? The keeper?
Oh, yeah, I know where you're going with this.
So they brought in the child, who's probably not a child. He looks like Ale Jaimes if Ale Jaimes was 15. Like, he's just a smaller version of, like, he had a similar haircut. Like, anyway, he was just a really small guy, and like Ale Jaimes would have looked like an actual adult next to him. It would look like a little brother syndrome there. And Ale Jaimes, I'm just using that because I think he's the smallest of stature guy on our team. Maybe Damian's smaller, I don't know, but small guys. This guy made them look like giants, and he was like super feisty, running around, really trying to prove his, which I have no problem with. He was definitely talking some shit after there was a little fisticuffs shoving thing off the ball. And Dylan Ramos, their keeper, comes out and literally football tackles, dives,
picks him up like a child.
But he's like, he starts to like literally tackle him to the ground, but then keeps his feet and walks him off, because off the ball, there's a little thing going on in a little bit closer to the goal. And Dylan Ramos runs over there. Kudos to him. He's breaking up the thing. Like, almost everybody's good. Like, everybody's good. And then this kid and Beto start like mixing it up, and it looks like a child talking to his dad. And if Beto looks like your dad, like, again, you're just not a real big person. And he's doing something. I can't really tell what's going on. And maybe there's another player there. I don't know. And then out of nowhere, you see Ramos running at full sprint. And I think he's going to.
I think it's going to be an absolute fight.
I think he's going to spear somebody or throw a punch, just because you see somebody running into a fight and you're like, oh,
it's never good.
It's never good. But what he does is absolutely take out his own player, which is the smartest thing he could have done.
Yeah.
He kept them, because his player was probably about to get a red card if his actions and his body language were what was going on.
I don't think he's sprinting without thinking the same thing.
And he just, it was so good. And shout out to him.
That's legend shit.
That is legendary.
When Gold Star is gone, they will always have this moment.
It was so good. Okay, so now let's get back to that goal. Sorry, I just remembered that.
Yeah. So JP just like sends the ball into a bar on the left wing, and Abar is already like on the edge of the box. Like, I mean, Gold Star is like all the way bunkered in, like into the box. And Abar just like makes the kid miss because he kind of lunges and he just kind of scoots it past him.
Just roasts him.
And then this, one of the things that has plagued us during this game and in some other games against, like, say, Flower City on occasion, is it's fine to beat the first man, but there's always a second guy there that you have to deal with. And
if you have a triangle, which is something we've talked about, if you have our three guys up and it's 3-on-2 or 3-on-3, you can rondo around, you can make runs, you can do whatever.
It's really hard to beat just two guys.
But expecting one guy to do Taylor Gray shit, essentially, which is what we started out the year with him doing, right? And it's been kind of all season. If we're getting numbers forward, and if players can beat the first guy, or occasionally beat the second guy as well, our offense is very good. Asking them to beat two guys in a row is too much.
Right. So, but what happens here is Abar beats the first guy.
He does.
And then he takes his nets tucked back to the inside, which essentially gives him a shooting angle and takes out the second option, the second
And because
defender.
we're chasing, he doesn't pass, he shoots.
Right. He just goes ahead and because the angle's there, so he goes ahead and takes a shot. And
I mean, look, it's a rough angle to shoot from, but I have no problem with the shot.
And like,
because
the keeper,
exactly what happens is what you hope might happen.
And he puts it across the keeper's body, so the keeper has to, like, it's not like the keeper's just like stands up and blocks
Correct.
it. Like, keeper has to actually go make a save,
Parries it.
And in doing that, he parries it right into Lenny's dick, because now there's it's not just Marcus in the box there. There's Marcus and Lenny.
Yep.
So the defenders have
they
a little
can't
bit
cover
more,
both of them as easily.
Right. So like. And like, look, is it fortunate? Absolutely. But Lenny's there. He's in the position he's supposed to be. He's there to clean up some stuff. And it hits off of him. And then he kind of like, he and the defender like kind of go together, like towards
race to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I think he said he like got his like the smallest portion of his toe.
He might have got his toe on it. What he really did though by getting there is he
make
made
sure the defender could not clear it off the line.
Bingo.
And the ball goes in, crowd goes crazy.
Oh my God.
It's pandemonium. And also it was Lenny's birthday weekend. So, shout out Lenny for a birthday weekend goal. And then, there's like, I don't know, 5-6 minutes of stoppage time, whatever it ends up being. And right after that, right. And literally the next wave of attack, we put a ball in over the top, and something we don't do very often. But like it back into the bunker again, and we send a ball in, and I think Juan Louis is just this far away from getting something on it and putting it in the back of the net. And that's probably the last decent opportunity we had. Game finishes 1-1.
Yeah, it was. So it was frustrating. It was nice to see we finally got the goal. One thing I did like is that, or maybe not like, one thing that kind of proves my point is like we are, and it's not something you would disagree with me on. When our wingers play well, when we beat a guy, we become more dangerous. And unfortunately, in this game, our wingers couldn't beat one guy or two guys, because a lot of times there was a second wave coming, or we didn't have the numbers forward to get in the triangle. And there's like 9 players in the box. And unfortunately, and here's my fear, and here's where I'm feeling very negative, we are going to face essentially this same defense the rest of the year. Flower City did it to us, and look how much we created against Flower City overall this year.
Not a ton. In 3 matches, not a ton.
We're gonna see in
we get them in 2 weeks. We get Savannah, who's already drawn against us once this year, playing a fairly bunkered style in that first match against us. And I think what sets up the second match is that we were able to get an early goal. And really, it's weird. Like the key to CFC is just getting an early goal, which is also the key to everybody, right?
It's also the key to beating a bunker, no matter who you're playing.
Yeah. Whatever that first
the longer it goes, the more faith and belief they get.
You got to take it.
The key to a bunker is faith and belief. It's one of the reasons Michigan Stars have been so good for so long is because they defend like it's their job. Genuinely, it is their job, but they really take pride in that defending. And look, they're not as good at it this year, but in general, that has been their DNA since they started that team, and they're very good at it.
It's why on this level, and why at every level. Think about how good Manchester City is in the Premier League. It's why on any given day, anyone can beat anyone, because soccer is just one of those sports where, damn the odds, damn your XG. If you don't somehow put the ball in the back of the net, all it takes is one chance, one mistake, and it's 1-0 to the other team. Like Gold Star Game is a great example of that.
Also, everyone now knows what we're going to do. And that doesn't make it what we're doing wrong, but what I'm saying is everyone knows our wingers are going to try to beat you. And you should definitely not foul us in close to the box, because Marcus will get a free kick.
Gold Star got away with a couple.
They did
a couple there, but also that's just part of it. You'd rather him take a free kick opportunity than you would, say, a clean shot from 12 yards or a clean shot from 16 yards.
Sure. So where do you want to go from here? You want to talk about injuries?
Yeah, we're kind of through that portion. So yeah, let's talk about some injuries, because I think this colors and conditions everything we're doing right now. Yeah.
And exactly how we're playing and exactly how we're feeling as well.
So let's talk about breaking down a bunker. There are a couple of ways to do it. You can take your opportunities on set pieces, free kicks, whatever. You can
free kicks and corners.
Well, I was thinking direct from free kicks, or free kicks and corners.
Alex McGrath makes every corner possibly a direct free kick.
That's good. And then it's just like the general process of breaking down a team through patience, crisp passing, and an incisive passing, or like destabilizing via beating someone one-on-one.
Something we didn't see that we have seen when we've been successful in breaking down bunkers is that possession in the corners of the 18-yard box, where we're passing it around the top and we're pushing them further and further in, and then they're receiving passes and dribbling towards somebody right in the corner of that 18-yard box.
Yeah.
I think San Diego away last year. I think who was it away this year? We went and scored 2 goals immediately after we went down 1-0. Maryland, like where we're pinging the ball. Not pinging is wrong. Where we're going just bing, 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 around, dribbling.
Our ability to hold possession in their box, in that on the edge of the box,
and cutting into because one thing that makes it more dangerous is once you're dribbling in the box, they can't foul you, they can't be physical, they can't risk fouling you.
Yeah.
And one thing that we're not, unfortunately, right now, and we've said it already, but it bears repeating, we're not really sharp right now. When we are really sharp, we can do that exact thing because we have the numbers to do that thing.
Yeah.
But almost every pass was a half a yard off, or to the wrong foot, or the first touch was slightly off, or the first dribble around a guy got deflected a little bit and you had to recycle, and then you have to push back out to get possession again. And it just, we didn't have that precision. And without that precision, breaking down a bunker becomes really difficult because you need to be absolutely sharp as a sharpened knife, sharp as a tack, sharp as a nail, sharp as, I don't know, what's the sharpest object? When you have to be razor sharp.
Yeah.
Because if every pass is perfect, you can work your way through all those players. If every pass isn't perfect, that number of players in that spot, all you have to do is have it just a smidge off, and they get a foot in, and they get a bounce.
And it's not just that; it's the time. So and
the timing.
It's all about working the ball around, waiting for the defensive rotation to be just a little bit off and then exploiting the space that's created. And if the first touch or the pass isn't just quite right, then it takes extra time
or the dribble
to settle that ball and then look for what's next.
You have no more time.
And by that point in time, the gap is closed and you're back off starting over. And if you do that for 5, 10, 20, 45 minutes at a time, you're just going to, you're not going to be able to take advantage of the gaps when they open up. And they do open up, but like really good bunkered teams, it takes a while to open them up. It has to be that consistent pressure to break them mentally even.
Well, you just have to be sharp when they do open up. Right. Sometimes it's immediately. If you think about that away at Maryland, we went from being a little bit not sharp to 10 minutes of pure power and sharpness where we went just down and absolutely steamrolled them with sharpness and waves of pressure. Went and scored 2 goals, then dropped back. We haven't seen, and I'm not saying since that game necessarily, but we haven't seen that level of precision, sharpness, and waves of pressure combined enough this season. And if we are going to take the next step into the next plateau or that next level, we have to have that. And that's what it's going to take to break these teams down. Or, like you said, set pieces. And set pieces can be direct free kicks.
Yeah.
Set pieces can be corners. Set pieces can be balls played in from direct free kicks or from recycling of free kicks. But back to injuries, one thing we didn't have this last game, and we haven't had for a little while, is one player in Colin Stripling who is very tall and good in the air, and who takes, maybe more importantly, takes one of the big defenders or big players away from the other players on the field, so you have less they have less opportunity, or we have less opportunity to be dangerous in the box because you can put a bigger, better defender on somebody else. And Anatoly wasn't there this game, and Anatoly is an absolute focal point for them on every play. If they don't call a foul on him for being big, he is a danger in scoring, and even on the recycle as well. And so we are just not as dangerous from direct. And we've talked a little bit on this podcast, and we've talked off the podcast with people about. Sean Weldon talked about it. Sometimes you have to just throw the ball in the box, right? While I think we are playing correctly with our short versus long corners, mostly our long corners are not near as effective without one, or in particular both of those guys, because it takes up defenders or they are direct threats on that. And right now we only have essentially one large player in Aiden Bowers in the box anytime there is a direct ball played in. And I think you felt that a little bit in this game, and it just takes away a way you can score against a bunkered team, because everything becomes even on a set play. Because on a set play, everyone's always in the box, right? On a free kick that's going to be crossed in, or on a corner, everyone's always in the box. If we aren't at our best on those, it takes away one way we could score that they can't negate by having all their players back. They can negate a lot of our advantage in skill and in whatever else, in plan, in sharpness, and whatever else, by having all those players back. But on a set piece, everything's equal to how it always would be.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't.
And so, but if you want a positive potential here, we are starting to get healthy. So we can talk about some more injuries, but Colin Stripling, I don't know when he's coming back, but it's been a little bit since his injury. That's the first piece. Anatoly was held out with a precautionary thing, so he should be back soon. That's 2 players that if you get them back, we will be back to our best 11, quote unquote, I think, or best 12 players being available. And it will make us better. It should make us better immediately on set pieces again. The other thing is, and I don't know what it's going to have for the playoffs, but we saw Ethan Corrin and Taylor Gray both on the bench. We saw Ale Jaimez get his debut a couple weeks ago on the back from injury. So that's 3 more players. I don't think we're getting Jonathan Partita, unfortunately. That is his name, right? I didn't just fuck his name. I said that and it sounded weird. We're not getting Partita back, and so if we don't get Tita back, it just is what it is. But we're getting healthy little by little. Does that mean that our season is going to suddenly magically turn? Of course not. But I want to point out that this will be the first time we've had some health potentially in our squad as we go through these last few weeks. And maybe, just maybe, it will give us a little extra gear, or a little extra opportunity, or potentially a little different look if you have another player available off the bench or in person. Imagine Taylor Gray coming in those last 10 minutes against tired legs. I don't know when we get Taylor Gray back, but
Yeah,
That's
so
a mouthwatering possibility.
So Taylor on the bench is interesting, and I'm gonna guess that people saw his name on the bench and then also wondered why he didn't come on to help chase that game a little bit. And I think it comes down to one thing: risk versus reward. The risk of putting him back out there too soon is probably not worth it compared to like trusting the Rodcess and having the group that was out there continue to work, continue to try to solve the problem in front of them. That's my guess and speculation. I did not talk to anyone about why we didn't see him.
Speaking of trust the Rodcess, I want to go back to something that we talked about earlier and that I've said before, that I said, but I didn't really finish all of the thought. It feels really bad to not generate any big chances, right? However, and it almost feels worse to genuine. This is a very weird thing, but I think it almost feels worse to have all of the ball, to create next to nothing shooting wise, and then the other team, and this game in particular, because the other team got one little chance and they got the goal. That feels worse than being the non-favored team, than sitting back and hoping to get out, and then the inevitability that the other team scores. Oops, oh well, we gave it our best. We overachieved. It feels inherently like we're underachieving with all this possession. However, I want to point out that can be true in some ways. But one thing possession gives you when you don't mess up, and we did mess up in this game, but one thing possession gives you when you don't mess up is if the other team doesn't have the ball, it's very fucking hard to score for them.
Yeah.
We made a big error in this game. If you go back one by one through our goals, which I don't want to do, but if you go back one through our goals allowed this season, many of them are through individual errors.
I mean, like I'll just do it for you real quick.
No, I don't really want to.
We've scored we've given up 9 goals in the league. 3 of them are PKs.
I just noticed that this is one of your takeaways. My bad.
One is an absolute fucking rocket banger. One is the only like quote unquote good goal we've given up all season.
At LA.
And there are 4 like easily definable mistakes. That's it.
So,
and by the way, that's half the number of goals of the second most stringent team in the league. Half.
So the next closest team has 18?
I think 2 teams have 18 goals conceded.
And the reason I want to point that out is it's not all doom and gloom, but it feels bad. So when I say trust the Rodcess, I mean it. I am nervous that we won't get to our heights and that we won't hit where we want to hit, right? What I do want to point out, though, for those maybe that are feeling like me, and there's something I'm telling myself, is that when we are this dominant, even though it feels bad when we don't create, even if we aren't creating and some of that possession is sterile, we are still keeping the other team from creating anything.
Yeah.
Like, is there an argument that maybe we would want to sit back and create things in transition? That is much easier said than done, by the way.
Yeah, because the other team has to also want that.
Right. But if we're thinking about being dominant and feeling like we're doing something, there's also something that you do with control. When you control the game and you control the ball, you keep the other team from being able to dictate anything. I'm not saying it's all positive because we need to be better. We have to be sharper. We have to be better individually and collectively. And look, we've got to get healthy, I think, for us to hit our potential here. But also, there is a positive in being as dominant as we were and are in possession. There is a positive in pinning these teams back and having them set up like this. Look, it sucks when they set up completely differently against us than they set up against anyone else. Did we talk about Maryland, Michigan on this podcast yet?
No.
So Maryland went up to Michigan. I didn't watch the game, but Maryland beat Michigan 2-0. Mm-hmm. Maryland and Michigan will set up differently when they play each other than when they play us.
Yeah.
That's just
Gold Star will play everyone differently than the way they play us.
And that is a bummer, but that is the reality.
Yeah.
And if we're just not with a team and a coach and a culture that allows the other team to dictate anything.
Yeah.
And so when I'm trusting the process, trusting the Rodcess, I am going with this is the way we're going to do it.
We will win games on our terms. We will lose games on our terms.
And we tied that game last night, not because Right. Not because Gold Star was good, not because they were great, but because we fucked up.
Because we weren't good enough.
Because we fucked up. That game should have been a 0-0 draw or a 1-0 win. Or maybe a 3-0 win if we were sharper.
I mean,
but my point is,
one of those goes in, we're off to the races.
Gold Star had one little point. We talked about this earlier. One little part of possession there and 2 little shots, and we made some good individual defensive plays. They did fucking nothing outside of that.
The hardest goal for us to score is our first goal.
It is, and my point,
because that's the goal that changes every like, game plans against us will go out the window if we get that first goal.
Yes,
but we have to get that first goal.
We do, and we have to kill the hope. What did Rod say on our podcast 2 years ago? You have to when you get the big chance, you have to score it. And then when you get the second big chance, you also have to score it so that team never has hope.
Yeah.
Right now, and in general, if a team stays 0-0 into the 70th minute or whatever, they have hope that they can get you to 90 minutes at 0-0, which for everyone else in this league is a win. Against us, if you draw us home or away, it's a win.
Yeah. And listen, if you want to be real specific, like the chance in the 70th minute is the chance that you have to score.
Yes, and I am also.
And by the way, and like for the record, we're not putting this on Beto. Like we're not putting this on any of the individual players, including like Aiden and John on the goal that we gave up. Like we're not putting this on anyone. This is really where we are now. This is actually almost the perfect, the perfect playoff prep, because everyone's going to come out and bunker us in these next few games. Everyone's going to come out and just try to deny us, try to steal a point. Trying to finish their season on a high, trying to take something from us, who's been the best team in the league overall this season. And guess what's going to happen in a semifinal, a playoff semifinal at home, assuming we get 4 more points, 5 more points, whatever it is. The team that plays us at Finley Stadium in a playoff semifinal is going to come out and bunker the fuck out of the game. And it's going to be on us to deal with the problem in front of us, break them down, find a goal, hang on, try to get a second one. And by the way, the final will be the same way. So I hope y'all like watching this, because we're going to see if we can go to the next level now and take that next step.
If we can get a little luck.
Well, listen, I'll take luck. I'd rather be lucky than good. Hands down.
I am pointing out we have gotten 0 luck the last few games. Yep. It may not come back around, but sometimes you get a lucky bounce, ball goes in, and you're off to the races.
And sometimes a lot of belief will take care of that. So a little bit of sharpness, hopefully a little bit of injury recovery. And we still have... Look,
we didn't have Prepelica and Stripling, which we already talked about. We didn't have a Partita. We haven't talked about Damian Rodriguez.
Damian at all.
The kid hasn't been here. And you look at we had one winger substitution essentially that we made. Not essentially. We only made one winger substitution. I'm not saying Jesus needed to be subbed, but if Rod wanted to sub him, he had one option on the bench.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess was Ali Jaimes on the bench?
No.
So he had no Ali Jaimes on the bench, which I don't know what's going on there, and maybe another injury, who knows. And Taylor Gray clearly wasn't ready, or I think he would have played him, at least at some point. So he was on the bench, but maybe not quite available, or maybe not worth it, whatever it is. You don't have Damian, so you don't have fresh legs. I think Rod's system, and obviously Jesus ends up creating the goal in the end. So I'm not this isn't me taking shots at Jesus. My point being is Damian's another player that potentially could have been helpful, and it's not back around. So we have a lot of margin for getting better as we get healthier, and just as we play the next few games against the bottom of the table, bottom half of the table.
Yeah, but it's just teams that are going to bunker. So
which gives us a chance to get better.
Yeah, functionally, it's going to be a lot of good reps for playoff season. So coming up Saturday at Savannah, the following Saturday at Flower City, the following Saturday is at Savannah again, and then the following Wednesday, allegedly a home game versus Club de Leon.
So Matthew, first of all, happy birthday.
Hey, thanks.
Today's Matthew's birthday, for anyone who didn't know. This weekend...
By the way, that means you have to put the podcast out today.
I might put it out tomorrow. We'll see. Matthew and I are headed down to Savannah for a quick trip.
Yeah.
I just mentioned I was just in Savannah for that bachelor party, so I am selfishly glad we're not going down for 4 days. I don't know if I could do Savannah for another 4 days, but we're headed down on Saturday.
Last road trip of the season for us.
You should, if you can, get to that game, y'all. It's going to be fun. There will be a nice little group. It won't be as big a group as it would have been if the game didn't get postponed, which is neither here nor there, but it's going to be a good little crew. I can't wait. The following week to Rochester, I don't know if anybody's going, you and I are not. I've got CISV things and whatever else here that I can't go, and I don't want to go. To be clear, Rochester sucks. And then Savannah again, which is the reschedule, which I can't make. We have Cody Harris, who's now getting his 4th mention on the podcast, I think. His and Madison, shout out Madison. Their wedding reception party here in Chattanooga is that Saturday, which was not scheduled on an initial CFC game. So good for them. They did not mess this up. This is all Nisa's fault. And so going to that here, won't go to that Savannah game. And then potentially the following week could be a coming home to, and hopefully it's not, a home playoff game.
Yeah. So
which we have clinched right now.
We have clinched a home
of
playoff
some
game.
kind. We cannot finish lower than 4th.
Correct. We are. I believe it's. Let me actually look at the table here. And if you listen to this on Wednesday, I feel like there's a matinee game. So this only applies to Tuesday, October 3rd.
Which was the 9 a.m. game?
That was last week. That was Flower City Gold Star.
Okay, I couldn't remember who it was.
So we are 3 points out of officially eliminating Albion from being ahead of us in the table. We are 5 points on LA Force. We are 6 points on Michigan Stars. That's points that we gain or points they drop.
Good. Okay. So Matthew,
and that's with 4 games, by the way.
3.5.
If the 4th one doesn't happen, it's a forfeit. So,
I mean, one may hope. It's supposed to be a home game for us, which is wild. Also, if you're listening to this and you are a season ticket holder, tickets were just released for the playoffs.
Correct.
In the past, playoffs have always been included in your season ticket. If you're used to that, which I am, look, it's a bummer. However, this is how pro sports work. It's how it's always worked in pro sports. And in fact, I believe even last year, in the fine print, it said playoff tickets were not included in season tickets. However, they were. They just ended up including it. It has always been included in CFC tickets. So I know there are probably people who are feeling some emotions right now about like, oh, this sucks. Look, this is just how it works.
The season ticket for CFC is literally the cheapest thing in pro sports in America.
It's a great thing, and I hope it remains so. My point being is when you get to the playoffs in any pro sports, your tickets are never included. I paid $16. I bought both. I recommend you buy both because you get a discount, and they will credit you back for off your next season ticket or whatever for the game if somehow we don't make it. But currently, I bought 2 supporters section tickets, $16 each plus fees. So I bought 4, one for me, one for Ella, but it comes with 2.
Yeah.
So 16 per.
I did the same.
That is the cheapest ticket ahead of game you can get, essentially. So I recommend getting those now, secure them now before they go up in a general presale. And if you have those chairbacks, you want to snag those ASAP because you want to get the ones you had previously during the season for the playoffs. So get those tickets, and then they will be good for whenever those games, whether they happen on the 28th, 29th that weekend, whether it happens on the first weekend in November or the second weekend, or whatever combination of them it happens. That's that.
Yeah. So my 3 takeaways have already been said.
Same with mine.
So I don't feel the need to I don't feel the need to say anything other than these next 4 matches are an opportunity to get a little bit better, to get a little bit more healthy, and to reestablish a rhythm and a flow that we've frankly not had since the middle of July. Is the last true regular stretch of matches.
Oh, okay. I was going to say
league?
We played well at the beginning of September, but no, that's not what you were saying. So keep going.
I mean, just week in, week out having a match. We haven't had that in months. Legitimately months. So this is a really good opportunity. Number one, to make sure that we get enough points and secure the number 1 overall seed in the regular season championship, which would be our first in club history for a national league. And second, trust the Rodcess actually is more important here. We need to get some rhythm, get some flow in our possession-based game. That's how teams that play like this evolve. That's how they advance, and we just have to be better at what we do, and trust the Rodcess that the rest is going to come.
Well said. Progress is not linear. First step. Let's work on getting these remaining points, getting healthy and getting hot, and let's go win those the regular season, get the regular season title, and then win the playoffs. Matthew, thank you for joining me. Listeners, thank you for listening. Peace.